from the void we know so well. Oh, horror, fantasy, the stories we tell. Sci-fi dreams where the stars collapse. Comic books stacked high in gaps. Mike and Tom, they light the flame. The first, the last, the Nerdom name. Voices sharp like the edge of time. Diving deep in a world sublime.
Welcome back to the First, the Last, the Nerdom, the podcast where we explore the outer edges of fandom and the deepest corners of cult cinema and everything in between. This month, we're still plugged into the mainframe for Cyberpunk month, and things are about to get weirder, darker, and way more underground. This week, we're diving into cyberpunk film that truly lives on the fringe, the 1991 Japanese experimental nightmare known as 964 Pinocchio. Directed by Shozin Fukui, 964 Pinocchio isn't your typical dystopian action flick. This is the grimy, chaotic, hallucinatory side of cyberpunk where body horror collides with identity collapse and the city itself feels like it's melting around you. The story, if you can call it that, follows a lobotomized sex cyborg thrown into the streets after malfunctioning and his slow, violent journey towards self-awareness and rebellion. Think Tetsuo the Iron Man meets Eraserhead filtered through a VHS fever dream. It's dirty, it's loud, it's disorienting, and yet it's a cyberpunk gem that captures the raw existential terror at the heart of the genre. What happens when the line between man and machine erodes completely? So, this episode, we're talking body horror, transhumanism, low budget insanity, and why 964 Pinocchio might be one of the most important cyberpunk films you've never heard of or were too scared to watch. Grab your gas mask, brace for a glitch, and get ready for the descent. It's time for 964 Pinocchio on the First, the Last, the Nerdom.
Hey, Tom, how you doing?
Mm-hmm. And to quote a very important line in the movie is
Yeah. So this film, you know how to pick them. Like, what the did we just watch? Yeah, I was to kind of before we get into the main digs here, which you're in for a surprise, that's for sure. Let me go ahead and share the screen here while I talk it up on what this thing is about. This show, but first, pay the bills. And this is the First, the Last, the Nerdom, and a big thanks out to Tom for picking up 1.6K on the shorts that you just did with your show and tell. I appreciate that very much.
Yep, and I think we picked up a few subscribers as well. So
we
yeah,
did. We are starting to lift off from the fours. for a while, they were backsliding in the teens there, but anyway, I digress. We are Mike and Tom, and we do this little thing called that. Our home base is on YouTube. We'd love to hear from you if you catch this now, or you find one of our over 260 videos and whatnot, long form content that we've done, where we started, where we're going. This month we are playing into our second film of the month for a cyberpunk-ish vibe. In any case, we're also, I believe you are also over on the Reddit.
Yep. First, Last, Nerdom. I try to find a subreddit that'll have me, and I'll promote our stuff. I've been promoting on the sci-fi one whenever we cover something appropriate for that subreddit, and they've been nice enough not to kick me yet. So
that's good. That's good.
Yeah, and anytime Tubi will have us, if there's a movie that they're playing, I go on there as well. But yep, I'm on Reddit. But if you want to keep up to date on what our new stuff is, I'm on X under First Last Nerdom, and I promote our videos, and then any kind of random thing. I found a cool metal song over the weekend, and I threw that up on there. But yeah, it was. I'm all about the pulp culture. I'll tell you what Blu-rays I've got and everything. So yeah, check me out there. But you have some socials too as well.
Absolutely, but I will give you a plug. If you want a curated physical media collection, follow Tom, because you're gonna get good ones. I too am also on Reddit. I did lose my blue check mark. That's okay, because I'm not paying for the premium. I sprung for a year of the basic for $36, so that's fine, and all that good. But yeah, you can also find me on here. See, I'm a bad one. I'm not verified. Got to pay some Elon shekels. But anyway, yeah, here mostly more stuff, more fun, serious stuff. But occasionally, me and Tom bat about back and forth an idea or concept, or some have some crosstalk. Also available as a co-host of America's Talk Show. This week, I'm filling in for Raleigh from Monday through Friday on the Late Show. We just wrapped our first one this weekend. Excuse me, this Monday. Excuse me, if I knew what day it was here. And then, of course, also longer form, more serious content. You can check out my ApeIt.Ink. And I didn't even say what my ApeIt_Ink on there. But anyway, enough about me. Let's talk about you and this movie. No, I'm just kidding. Now, so to kind of set the table for this, there's this sex robot, essentially cyborg, whatever you want to call it. They use these kind of things interchangeably with this. But anyway. It's no longer a human. Essentially, it's a product, it's property essentially, and it's a sex bot essentially. And this particular one is dysfunctional a certain kind of way, which you definitely know about, and you find out right away. But anyway, it gets its memory wiped or whatever, and this collector of stray cats, I'll put it that way, who takes this creature in this bot, and then he finds out that this she's a caretaker essentially, and she tries to help out with memory and maps and whatever. But anyway, the tense plot is normally that would not be a rewarding movie at all, as if it already wasn't goofy enough. It gets the goofiness dials up to 10 because the company wants their property back, and they want, because they see it as a defective product that has to be gone, nixed. But anyway, that's the setup, and then I think we'll walk our way in from there. I'll let you guide us here.
Yeah, it's one of those movies I kept hearing about, but never had a chance to see. It's a very, very underground Japanese movie, and I'd heard it was sort of a cyberpunk movie. The guy Shozin, the guy that directed it, he actually worked on Tetsuo Iron Man, and that would probably been a more popular one to cover on our month. But and we have that in our back pocket as well. But yeah, this one was like one that I kept hearing about in reference to Tetsuo, but I'd never seen it before. And the crazy thing about physical media now is that there's some amazing movies that aren't streaming, aren't on 4K, that are legendary movies.
Yep, cult classics and obscure. Yeah,
but this crazy movie's on 4K. You can get it now on Amazon. It's 4K. You've got it's 4K, but I don't know if it's 4K. The video quality is good, but it's off of I guess what existing film element there is. So there's like hairs jiggling in 4K in the screen. It's still very much an underground film in 4K. You also get a short film and an interview, a half-hour interview with the director as well. So
yeah, and
only like $19 on Amazon.
Good deal. I mean, if you're into the bizarre and the weird or whatever, but I would also say it's like like it kind of it didn't have the completeness of other movies we've seen, but movies that we have seen that have been like kind of a pick up quick, like a guerrilla filmmaking, like a totally counter way that you would ever make a film. It would be interesting as we dive into, because I know nothing about this director nor this line of films or any of this stuff. So this is why it's fun to want to watch these things, these train wrecks. I found it quirky in the most, fun ways that are entertaining to watch. I'll put it that way. Like I could easily see where somebody would watch this and just be exhausted.
Yeah, there's
like
this movie could have had like at least 20, maybe even 30 minutes cut from it, and you probably wouldn't mix it, and it would probably make it a little bit more faster pace.
right.
But yeah, I enjoy it. It's like an hour and a half movie. There's a lot of running and walking and screaming in this movie.
Right.
Most of the lines are screamed during this movie. I would hazard to guess this movie has the most screaming in it of any movie. And that's saying something for a Japanese movie, because a lot of Japanese movies do have, for what it's shoestring budget, but they were able to get some very interesting visuals out of this movie.
It had a style. I'll give it that. I don't quite know what that style's called. Well, I mean, it's Gorilla. It's from its era too. It looks a little bit dated in some parts. But that's not its fault. That's not the point of the film anyway. It doesn't really matter. It's supposed to be sometime, off into the, or alternative universe, future, whatever. I don't know. Whatever. Pick wherever you feel comfortable mentally landing on that spot, because you're not going to stay there for long.
Right. And
it doesn't matter.
And I read on the Wikipedia the director's 3 major movie influences, and I think you could see a little bit, maybe a tiny bit of each of those in this movie. There's Blade Runner, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and our channel favorite, Possession.
Right.
So, but yeah, there's a little bit of each in that, but yeah, very much unique to his own vision. I didn't know much about the director either, although I did learn quite a bit through the half-hour interview that's on the disc. But yeah, he didn't start off as a movie director. He was in a band. He was in an underground Japanese band, but on the side he started working for low budget film companies, doing very cheap movies, and he kind of came up with this idea, and his idea for the film, which after I say it, it'll make sense if you've seen the movie, is that he was very interested in a movie about when mental anguish overcomes the physical. And so that mental anguish goes beyond how physically you can handle it, which kind of explains the main character. He's sort of like just this crazy, and also at the time he was also hanging out with this band. I think they were called Limbo, and the singer was actually set to. He's going to do the movie and have the singer as the star of the movie, and then he came out with cancer and died before they were able to make the movie. So they, he picked it up. So it's very much inspired by that singer. But yeah, I'll sprinkle in some extra history things in there, because there's some interesting things that were in the making of it. But yeah, very much the plot of the movie, you probably get more out of us telling you the plot of the movie than actually watching the movie.
Yeah, well, that kind of goes to kind of like what this is. This isn't just guerrilla or whatever. It's also very much an unfiltered artistic version, uncut, very raw, cracking the boomer juice all the way in. I love it. Love it. Yeah. Yeah. We took a week off there for a little bit for Father's Day and some other things going on and whatnot.
Yep.
And Tom and I
we all needed a reset. Yeah.
Yeah. No, we all run on. We're humans, and we run on human batteries. So, but anyway, this one, it's kind of funny how this month has turned out, but because we'll talk on the back end, but like this has not been one of my favorite months of late, but for many
Yeah.
reasons. But
Yeah.
I was sick last week and I caught bronchitis and then I had the sniffles and whatever, and I'm finally working my way out of that. And but anyway, pulling this back to think, they did the best what they could with what they had. They didn't have proper equipment. I had read that they used an old wheelchair as like a camera dolly, you know. Like, so basically, they also filmed in like Tokyo, like real. When they're filming, they didn't have extras; those were real people. They didn't know that they were being. And
Yeah,
for Christ's
it
sake,
kind of.
the Onn-chan, and then I'll hand it back to you. The main character, the homeless woman. She was a nobody. She was part of the crew like a little bit before that, and then they were just like, "Okay, here you go." And then, like, that's not her real name; it was just a pseudonym, and she just kind of disappeared into, never to act again, as far as we know. But
Right, exactly, yeah. Which
it's kind of
maybe
how this
from
movie
this.
is. Everything about that is like, in a nutshell, that's this film.
Yeah, and that may be her first and last experience as a actress. Maybe she didn't want to experience that again, but you never know.
Yeah.
But yeah, very very much guerrilla filmmaking. It reminded me a lot of Jackass. Them going in
Oh yeah, yeah.
and just doing something completely crazy and stupid in the middle of people.
Right.
But they're making a quote unquote serious movie as opposed to jackasses doing what they do. But yeah, so it's all those reactions from the from the crowd is very much very much real. The real time people, because yeah, they did get permits for certain things, but yeah, like running down the street or something, they just did that on the go, quick and dirty.
Right.
Which it kind of makes sense in a Japanese crowd, because they're much more reserved, so they didn't have to worry about if you fall down and start rolling around on the ground. They don't have to worry about someone running up to help them, because in Japanese culture
They
they're much more hesitant and
well they
less
oh, go ahead. Sorry.
less likely to get involved.
Right. No, you very true, very true. That they this is like a punk rock art, offbeat, out of band, whatever. Pick your thing. Like they definitely did guerrilla marketing and more punk rock kind of,
Yeah,
marketing. Like
very
they
much.
spray painted a car. I read on the. I think they did that. To promote the. I mean, they were totally there, but they're also at that time, like that was kind of like a subculture in Japan or whatever. But so punk rock is always like kind of a thing around.
Yeah.
But you get the artistic raw,
Yeah.
feeling comes through.
Yeah, definitely stressing the punk and cyberpunk. Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't immediately think of Japan when you think of cyberpunk. I guess you do, because it's heavily influenced. Like even
Absolutely.
with Blade Runner, you have all
Yep.
the Japanese writing within it, and very much influence of a Japanese culture on that.
Right.
And yeah, and obviously with Akira and Ghost in the Shell that we covered last week, very much a Japanese thing. This is supposed to be set in 2067, but it was filmed in I think 1990, so it was pretty
Yeah.
much 1990. Although it looks even earlier. I guess it has more of a 80s kind of vibe for me, and almost kind of a little bit of a 70s kind of vibe as well. I got that kind of sense to it. But yeah, they don't have a lot to work with, so they really amp up everything
They're
that
like
they
14.
have.
Yeah.
Yeah, take it. Where Spinal Tap, yeah, took it to 11, they took it to 14.
Right.
And yeah, it's one of those movies also, since we had I'd watched it the week previous, because I wasn't sure, since I had never seen it before, and I was kind of thinking about using it for Cyberpunk month. I wanted to pre-screen it to make sure it was something we would want to watch, and as I watched it, I went from no, we we can't cover this. This is too stupid.
Right.
We can't do this. And then about 10 minutes later, oh yeah, we definitely have to cover this. And then back to no, we can't do this. We can't do this. And then by the end of it, I was like, yeah. I think it's definitely a movie to be able to talk about. It's one of those.
It's not the best movie I've ever seen. It's not by far. It's not the worst. I mean, it sucks in some spots, but that's had nothing to do with the content per se. But just the more or less the DIY, punk nature of like, we're just gonna do it. And you know what? I mean, it's hard to say that it's cohesive. I mean, it is cohesive. In its own distraught kind of way. It's not comprehensive. I wouldn't say that at all. But it definitely, it has the, it has an air about it that is, like I said, it's quirky. Like and I say that as I sit on in a plane of thousands of hours, hundreds of hours, how many hours we watch these things, we've talked about them, like, I think if I would have watched this right away, I would have been like, nope, I wouldn't have the patience. But having watched things like this, I mean, aside from covering it to talk about it, as a purpose or work, we don't really do work here. We do the thing like when we do it, but like Mike before this show would have not watched this at all, but like,
right.
and nor would I, even if I would have watched it, I would not have been able to appreciate it anyway because of the knowledge that we've done together over the years. But anyway, it is it's this cool, quirky, hard to explain. You kind of gotta watch it, and either you get it or you don't, I guess. I mean, and again, like it's not a 10 out of 10. No. 5.5 is actually probably high praise on IMDb, if I'm honest. If you're going to put a rating on it, but we don't really do that here. But we talk about numbers sometimes. But
I think there's definitely a cult following for the movie. I'm sure. Some of the people watching us now are those members, and if you are, welcome, and give us if you've lived with this movie for decades now, definitely in the comments talk about your experience with the movie, where you first saw it. Again, this is brand new to both of us. It's only about 3 weeks old in my head, and maybe even sooner in Mike's. But yeah, it's one of those movies. I did go back since we did take a week off. I went ahead and went back and kind of went through it again. Maybe not. I didn't watch it like all the way through again because there's certain scenes where they are overlong. Right. He does like to linger, and there is a like you said, a very much a punk rock sense about the movie. That it's doing its own thing, and then and at times he misses the mark, much like missing a chord in a punk song, but that's okay, because the next riff, the next scene is hits you with the wallop, and you forget about that that bad scene a minute ago.
Well, I was going to say too, that kind of triggered the William Gibson too, right? So William Gibson is a famous sci-fi cyberpunk author, great author. He's not afraid to tackle certain subjects in a certain way, and it's palatable and acceptable because of the story that you're given. Whereas otherwise, you kind of like would have been like, "Ooh, yuck," and you're still kind of yuck a little bit too, but. This movie the subject matter and the material could have easily been a yuck, not only never mind it make it over here, but we were still, you talk about the 80s and the 90s, we're still pretty prudy back then. And not that anything was like terribly, whatever. I mean, it's not like it's not NC-17, I'll put that way. I mean,
right?
Really, NC-17X. It's not like that at all. It's just like it just has different sensibilities that are non-standard. That are like, again, it's the quirky that you kind of want to watch and see what happens next. I mean, I don't know how to put it other than like there's an interest there, and sometimes it's rewarded with more cool weirdness or whatever, and sometimes it's like, what the fuck am I watching?
There was something in the waters there back in the 80s. I think this heavily influenced by Sam Raimi's guerrilla style filmmaking as well. I think Sam Raimi back then had a huge impact because of his kinetic energy that he threw into his movies with the crazy camera angles, the wild zooms, the putting tying a camera to a piece of wood to make it go wild through the woods. But so this movie has those crazy camera angles, that kinetic energy that was there with those type movies, and so there's that energy that kind of propels you through the movie, even though maybe the plot is pretty thin, and at times you're wondering what the hell's going on
Right.
during certain scenes. But they all make sense within the world that you're seeing it in. But yeah, there's there's it flirts with different on the edge things. There's definitely a weird kink kind of thing with the cherries and
Right.
the guy that works the head of the company.
Innuendo abounds in
Mhm.
layeredness of this thing. So like it's not like
But
it's
it yeah
it's not like it's cheeky,
yeah, but it never gets gets to one extreme or the other. There's like there's a kind of a good balance. It never gets too pervy. It never gets too gross. There's a classic scene in this movie that went
Just
on
get
way
gross.
too.
Yeah.
There's a scene that the main character, one of the main characters,
The
Himiko.
vomiting. Yeah.
The vomiting
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
it
yeah.
was I don't know if you got the sense, but it's very much to me an ode to the subway scene in Possession,
Mm,
where she's going through that uh,
transformation. Yeah.
the transformation
Hmm.
scene, and the fact that he says that movie was an influence. That makes sense because as I was watching that movie, I was like, "This is like that scene from Possession, but with vomit
Right,
instead."
right.
And but props to the actress because she definitely pulled it off. It was, I
Well,
have to,
yeah.
yeah, it was, and the lead up to that scene, there was a kind of a cool moment there where she's like, she's seen, the main character guy, the cyborg, he's going through it. He's transforming the mental anguish is kind of melting his body down. She's just seen this. She's kind of had a mental breakdown. She's running through the subway, just freaking out. And at one point, she's like walking through, and they make kind of like this. You hear sort of like a locomotion, kind of train sound as she's kind of pumping her arms and kind of walking down. And it was kind of a cool scene. Kind of she's kind of automated at that point, with and then she's sort of kind of like, I guess, kind of having uh her body is sort of just going down into sort of autopilot, and she's got the kind of this this locomotion kind of sound to her, and I guess she's sort of, I guess, almost becoming like a cyborg herself. Just her programming is kind of kind of corrupted, and then she's kind of puking out herself. Then she kind of has a turn and she goes evil mode. And that was kind of an interesting turn because at that, up until that point they've been kind of working together trying to figure out what the cyborg was, and then when he kind of melted down, it just kind of broke her.
Right. Well, and too, also like where, well, I mean, everybody is transforming, and it is kind of physical body horror kind of thing is like that kind of a touchstone to to symbolize the mental thing that you're going through, or the philosoph whatever angle
Mhm.
where you want to put it, doesn't really matter. I'm not trying to get too artsy fartsy here, but when
Yeah.
you see that transformation, and then it's kind of over the top with the body horror and the vomiting and the the pus
Mhm.
and the all kinds of the things that were happening, but
Mhm.
um but it's just that recovery of identity, and it's just it's another metaphor for change and and metamorphosis. If you want to like that, this actually kind of reminded me a little bit of the Kafka, the famous Kafka story. You know what I'm talking about? The Franz Kafka, the what was that called? Grief. But anyway,
where he's kind of transforming into the cockroach or whatever.
Yeah, yes. Although the Franz Kafka is classic. Like this is a little bit more disjointed, distraught, I don't know, film.
Metamorphosis.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, that's right. I said it like 5 seconds before, but yeah. Anyway. But no. It works for I think for the higher points in the film. I think it does serve it well. It doesn't. I wouldn't call it excellence, but I would call it goodness. I guess it can't maintain that level of fidelity for long. I'll just put that way.
And also maybe we didn't watch it in the ideal setting because I was watching that interview with the director, and he said that when he made the movie and it came out, he didn't have it didn't go straight into the theaters. He kind of had to work his way in, and he come from being in a band. And he said that he showed it in a live house, which I assume translates from like a club, a club theater to show it, because he knew the sound system was best in at that time in the theater. The sound system wasn't great, so going into a club. For bands, they had the good sound systems for that. So, and that's one thing about this movie is there's constant sound to it. There's a very keen sense of the soundscape and during the whole movie.
It's funny, I think, and sometimes it works and sometimes I think it doesn't work for like where it tries to do like one of the things that I like is I like the cinematography and the world building, and that kind of thing, and like it does try to do a lot with sound on that. So your soundscape is exactly correct, is how I would put it as well. Yeah, I'm glad you touched on that.
But yeah, so yeah, he showed it in in a club, and then he got a run in a theater. The guy said, "Okay, well, I'll give you a few days in the theater, and if it works, it works. We'll hold you over for 3 weeks, but I can't promise you anything." So and he knew that people weren't going to come to the movie just because it's in the theaters. He was going to have to draw people in. So in the theater that he was showing in, he got a big PA system, some of these wall speakers, and filled that in and got a guy that would run the PA system for that first week, and the theater kind of vibrated, and he wanted this movie to have like a physical effect on the people watching it, and with the the sound was hitting the people, and word of mouth got out that this crazy movie was there, and it went past that first week, and so after the first week, the guy that was running the PA had to leave, so he showed the director how to handle that. So you have this crazy situation where it ran for I think like 10 weeks. So the guy was there, the actual director was in that theater showing his movie for 10 weeks straight, handling the sound. I mean, you talk about underground, and he said that a lot of the people would come back, the same viewers would come back to see this movie again and again, and he would he said it's kind of lonely there, running that PA every day. So at the end of the day, he would go out to the bar, and he started inviting some of the audience members out to the bar. So that's just kind of a almost like like a punk band kind of mentality to the whole thing, which is kind of beautiful. And he much like almost all the Japanese directors I've seen, very very understated, very reposed, and no thoughts of grandeur here. He's very much understands his place in the world,
Right.
and he talks about how he does talk about the ending of the movie, and he said people call it a stupid ending, and he goes, I'm not, I'm not above saying I'm not stupid, but yeah, he's very very humble person, and he said that people watching the movie, he got to see people's reactions to the movie, and some people loved it and would come back, time and time again, but there's some people that just couldn't handle it and had to leave halfway through, and he said he was very fascinated by all of the reactions, no matter how he loved that this movie has an effect on the person that sees it, no matter whether it's good or bad. They're having a reaction to this movie.
Yeah, no, it also kind of naturally asks the question, like, who's this movie for? Like,
Right, yeah.
Which is hard to pin down too, actually. If you're a serious, connoisseur of films and you're, body horror, you're going to come into contact with this at some point, I would imagine. But, we haven't covered Cronenberg, have we, at all yet? I think that's one of our wish list ones, or something. It's on the list for sure, right?
Yeah. We have we have a body horror month on the docket in the future, and he's definitely going to be in the mix.
Oh yeah. Good thing for breaks between time. But I digress. I was gonna. I lost the train of thought.
Yeah. This fits in with Cyberpunk month, but it also would, like you said, fit in perfectly with body horror.
Right.
Some of the best movies, and also this would be definitely a horror movie as well. Some of the best movies, my favorite movies, don't have like an easy label. They kind of have their hand in multiple genres, and multiple. It makes you feel in multiple ways.
Yeah, I had read some opinions on this too, that this would have fit in with like French extreme cinema, which is whatever the hell that is. So like apparently that was a thing back in the 90s and the so like I'm sure we'll tap into that maybe at some point one of these days. But this I had read that, but like a Gaspard Noel's work. I don't know who that is, but anyway, the cool part is that I think it does. I have no idea what the history of it was as far as like I think it didn't get picked up until much later on, obviously. But the fact that it's Japanese and it's kind of cyberpunk and whatever, there is a core group of folks like I think helped. Didn't it come out when was the DVD release? Wasn't it in the 2000s? Later?
I think so. Yeah.
But anyway, that would fit also kind of because there's always been a kind of a subsection that's dedicated to like a Japanophile is a good way to put it. Like where you're just some kind of way into either, older kind of Shogun type films or even early Japanese cinema. I've seen a couple of them on TCM over the years, like just appreciative, just different ways to do it. Yeah. And this hits all that right, just squarely unique and individual, all its own. But it brings that because it's Japanese, it also has that thing. But it's so bizarre. Like, I think that also works with it well, because obviously, if you're not accustomed to Japanese films and movies, and you see this, you're going to kind of naturally slide in anyway because it's different. It's different anyway. So I think that helps it more than hurts it for sure. Over the course of like while you're watching it, I do agree with you. It's a little bit long, but like I said, it kind of depends on where you're coming at it, what angle, and how easily your stomach is turned, I suppose, or your sensibilities are, if like kind of like a roller coaster that turns you upside down and twists you around a few times, like
right.
Maybe not in the most smooth manner, I'll put that way.
Right. Yeah. It kind of has its own vibe to it. But yeah, it's with the current state of I guess younger people have kind of this absurdist kind of sense of humor, that that this movie kind of would fit pretty well within that. I'm kind of shocked that no one's really kind of lashed on this and created some memes from it. It seems like it's meme worthy. Maybe we could make some shorts and kind of get this get this going. But yeah, it has a definite style of its own. Very much a presence. If this was a person walking into a room, it would be very much kind of a punk rock person
Right.
with a bit of a swagger and a personality to it. Because this movie doesn't is not a wallflower so to speak. But it's kind of crazy because this was a movie I had heard the name of it and had heard a little bit about it back in the 80s and 90s when there was no internet, or internet was in its kind of infancy. You would hear about these things, but there wasn't any streaming services to find these movies. So it was really down to availability. I had seen Tetsuo Iron Man very early on. I don't know if I saw it in the 80s, it probably was in the 90s. But that had got like a broad release, or at least a VHS release, so that I could rent it. But yeah, we kind of live in the perfect time because this movie is out on 4K. It's on Tubi. I'll be promoted on Tubi Reddit. But yeah, so you could hear about this movie and then turn around a couple minutes later and be watching it. Definitely, if you've watched this so far and haven't seen the movie, definitely give it a try. That's the scene where I was talking about her, that kind of train sound, and then her
Right.
gleeful going in and buying all that that equipment and stuff.
Manical.
There's
Yeah.
this energy about this movie that's just
Frenetic.
fun.
Yeah.
And there's spots in the early on in the movie that are kind of slow, but I would have to say, and also I was going to say that the company, we didn't talk about the company that much. There's the company man that's in charge of it. There's his secretary, where there's this weird thing going on between the two of them. I don't know if she's a cyborg as well.
Something. Some
Yeah,
other plot. Yeah, or story.
yeah, there's something there going on. But he has
Yeah.
these three henchmen that are out trying to find the cyborg, and
Right.
they're sort of like the Three Stooges. But there's something going on with each of those guys. They could have easily have been sort of no name guys. There's a subplot with one of them about adopting a kid, and just he ends up stealing the kid. That's a whole nother story that could have been a whole nother movie. But yeah, there's something more to each of the elements of this movie that they could have kind of elaborated on, and that's kind of the fun
Right.
part of this movie is you have all this other extra stuff you could speculate on.
Right.
But I was going to say that the ending of the movie really is what pays off the whole movie for me. That made
Fairy
it
tale.
worth
Yeah.
covering
Yeah.
on this channel. There's it's just a fun, crazy ending that just kind of goes over the top in a kind of a beautiful way.
No, it is, and I could see like where fairy tale loosely here, but it has a tale to tell if you're open to it, I suppose.
Yeah.
But no, it was very unique look. I think it's hard for me to put again, we don't really do the rating thing, but it's a solid base hit if you want weird, wacky, different, and you're either coming in on cyberpunk or maybe sci-fi or Japanese, whatever. I mean, there's many different ways that you could walk in the door and then walk out the door. If you have any kind of appreciation for whatever door you're walking in on, I think you're gonna find some enjoyment. I'm not gonna say it's gonna be a 10 for you, but like there are people out there that are, this is their jam. This is their, cult classic, which is understandable, but didn't quite hit me like that. But I could appreciate it for aspects of it, But I could easily see where if you don't have patience, this is not for you. But again, going back to what Thomas said, you can go out there and make up your own mind if you want to see something kitschy and frozen in time in a way. But yeah, this is a recommend for me for sure.
Yeah, definitely for me too. And I come from the perspective of you obviously know this about me now is that I gravitate towards the weird, the dark, the strange, the wacky. The prospect of watching the latest episode of Law and Order just kind of bores me to tears. That's not what what I want to ever do.
Right.
Although I'm not knocking that show, because I've known people that's their comfort food. They love watching shows like that. That's their favorite thing. I'll never sit down and watch it with them, but yeah, that's their jam. And other people love like certain types of anime and whatnot. But this weird kind of these live action Japanese movies and stories are always what is it, a live action Japanese movie, underground movie, there's always going to be something visually striking that is always going to get my imagination going. So yeah, I'm always going to be gravitating towards these type of movies, and this one definitely delivers. Definitely gives you a lot to think about. It's like Mike says, it's not going to replace your top 5 extreme crazy movies. But it's up there, it's like I said, it has its flaws, the things that kind of drag it down a little bit. But yeah, it's definitely worth checking out, and see where it fits with you, because I think it's with these kind of crazy movies, they they're not appealing towards a mass audience. It's going for those people that it will appeal to, and if it hits those right buttons with you, this could be your favorite movie of all time. And if it is, and you're watching, let us know. Like I said, but yeah, it's definitely worth the investment of time to check it out.
it has such relentlessness that it kind of rumbles you along, and if you're not of that sensibility, I could see where that could become numbing, and it could become over, kind of gray noise it out. But for me, I didn't hit that point. And it is one to watch and make up your own mind for sure. It's not exceptional aside from its quirkiness and it's this 3 of 3 for this director. But it has such a punk, unfiltered view, raw kind of view, I guess, that you can't help but watch, to kind of see what happens next. But anyway, it worked for me on that quirky scale. But again, I would not recommend to like a new time cinema viewer. This is not year one cinema. This is more like your ass into your sophomore year, maybe. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, you just gotta have to. Yeah,
I need to ask my new professor film friend like how this would as a thing, but it's fun. That's kind of the fun though. You don't need a permission slip to watch any of these things.
Right. Yeah.
Just kind of like this is it. Go watch it. Go check it out. But yeah,
yep.
I don't have
you gotta love a streaming service like Tubi that just throws all of that stuff out there.
It's ever growing. Yeah. You can see why people get they even have a love for a Tubi. Or the other one, Pluto or whatever. I think they got bought out. But anyway, because they have these avant-garde kind of weird things that you will never. You would have might saw this maybe on cable, like late night. Nobody like black hole hours. The witching hour. Some in the middle of the night, early morning.
Right. You never know. And I will say I might have quoted this on here before, but I had a coworker once say that I had the biggest collection of movies that no one's ever heard of, and I have to say I'm proud to add this movie in with that.
Absolutely, absolutely. No, Tom, you got the nose, to find it for us. So, but I don't have much more to add. Did you have anything else you want to cover? I think we covered it pretty solidly. It's a good base hit. Good base
Yep.
set.
Yep, and like I
weird.
said, if you want to check it out, it's on Tubi, and there's the 4K readily available on Amazon for I think 19 or $20. So yeah, and the ending of the movie. Do we want to talk about a little bit on because I wasn't sure exactly what the ending meant. The director did explain it in his interview. Would
Yeah.
you like to hear his explanation of the
Yeah,
ending of
that'd
the
be good
movie?
because I don't know that I'm smart enough to. I saw what I
Mhm.
saw, but yeah, go
Yeah.
ahead, please. Yeah,
Yeah. Well, okay. Well, start with this premise of the movie, which is
right.
mental anguish that exceeds the physical body.
Hmm.
There was sort of like the separation of Himiko and the cyborg.
Right.
There was initially that compulsion of them going together, and then there's that separation of
Right.
them. But he said that they kind of come in at the end and they realize they can't live without each other, that the mental anguish needs two bodies to cover it. So yeah. So you could think because he again, spoilers, he goes and takes off Himiko kind of rips off her face and she gets this giant giant head that kind of resembles the cyborgs, and he takes her head off and puts it on his,
Yeah.
but her physical manifestation grows her head big enough to, I guess, encapsulate the mental anguish that he's experiencing, because so they become one together. And then at the very end, they're in Paris at the Eiffel Tower, and he's like, I feel much better now. And then it ends, and then I like how, I don't know if your version had it, but like the credits start playing, and much like the Marvel universe, you had the Pinocchio universe, you had that mid credits break in, and it's like the people in the from the movie in a club dancing around to music
Right.
for a
Right.
little bit, and then it goes back into. And also I will say one other thing. While they were making the movie, obviously guerrilla style filmmaking, they were filming in this neighborhood and making a lot of noises because they're all screaming and whatnot. And there's a lot of smoke in the movie too. So but they couldn't afford a smoke machine, so they were using smoke bombs. And
Oh, that's
smoke bombs stink. So
right.
the neighbors started to complain about about them, and so they went door to door apologizing and giving them sweets, saying, sorry for the inconvenience. That was during December, and they stopped filming, and then they come back later in January to start filming, and they said that it was extremely cold during that time, and the neighbors that had been complaining about them actually came out and started giving them warm soup and stuff to kind of keep them warm and sort of.
That's funny.
So there was that nice sense of of
Community.
camaraderie there.
Yeah.
And he also said that at times the director wouldn't sleep, and that he would only have one meal a day. He would work all day and then have a meal at the end, and so he lost like quite a bit of weight. And he said that the actors and the crew started mimicking him in that respect, and they all kind of lost weight. So there, I guess there was sort of like that kind of communal sort of team spirit kind of thing
Hmm.
with this movie. So yeah, it's very unique. Unfortunately, the director's only done a few short films.
Right.
Again, Caterpillar is on here, one of his short
Hmm.
films, which is interesting to watch. Not as good as
The main event.
Pinocchio, but it has some interesting parallels. There's another cyborg in it. He's very much into the sci-fi. But yeah, definitely it's a half hour short. Definitely worth checking out. I know his other full-length movie, Rubber's Lover, which some
Hmm.
say is a prequel to Pinocchio, is actually on YouTube here on YouTube. And it's in Japanese, but I clicked around and you could actually put in AI generated English subtitles, and they actually look pretty decent. So, if you're really into this movie and haven't seen that one, you might want to check it out. But yeah, very interesting director. Much like a lot of other ones that are very interesting. They didn't get a lot. They don't have a lot of movies in their repertoire, which is kind of criminal. I'd love to see him develop as a director and see what he could have done. A few movies on. But yeah, but he's still with us, so maybe there's a chance if there's like a resurgence for this movie. Oh, are you talking? I can't hear you.
Yep, sorry, no, there's probably all the slim chance that it might happen, but yeah, no, this is one to go watch for sure.
Yep. All right. Yeah, I think I've run out of all my my trivia on this, but yeah, definitely give it give it a watch, and
Indeed.
yeah, definitely give us a like and subscribe if you liked, and because if you've made it this far, you might be interested in our content. We talk about weird sci-fi things. We talk about horror. We talk about fantasy. We talk about comic books. The one of the things I've started doing is shorts. Each once a week, I'll go to the comic book shop and I'll pick something out that I think you might like. So check that out and see if you have the same comic books taste as I do.
Absolutely. And we've been the first, the last nerdom.
And stay weird out there.
Peace.
Yeah.
That was terrible.